Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Lizzie, and for today's video I am continuing with my newest series where if you did not see my previous video for this, I bought the 50 horror movie scratch off box. This is kind of trending on TikTok right now in the TikTok horror community, horror talk, whatever you want to call it. I've already done one video with this. So if you did not see that one, go ahead and check that first video out. But pretty much I'm gonna grab a card out of this pile and do a little scratch off. I put the first one that I've already done on the bottom, which was, spoiler alert, Rosemary's Baby. So we're just gonna go ahead and just shuffle through them. I feel like I like the card. So that's gonna be this one. Okay, so I'm gonna read the little blurb for it first. So it says, rated R, 1990, 92 minutes, zombie thriller. What's a zombie thriller that came out in 1990? I'm so bad at guessing these. Some of you are probably gonna be like screaming the answers at me, but I'm just no good at this. So let's go ahead and just scratch it off. I'm not sure. I was hoping maybe I could tell right from the start. Oh, duh. Night of the Living Dead. Tom Savini. I'm guessing this is like the remake of Night of the Living Dead. I don't know if I've seen this version yet. The only time I can think of where I would have seen this was to review it on this channel. So there you go. I guess we're gonna go ahead and watch Night of the Living Dead. So I'm gonna go watch it and I'll come back and let you guys know my thoughts.
They came.
Reports focusing on the phenomenon, specifically on that trance-like state.
And every road out
Don't stop no matter what happens.
is becoming a trap.
Okay, so we just got done with watching the 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead, and this is my first time watching this one. I have not watched this version of it. I have watched the original one, but going into this one, I do think it's interesting that this is a remake that, while it is not directed by George A. Romano, it was directed by Tom Savini, it is still a George A. Romano film. He and his team are still producers on the film, and obviously he is credited for the characters, but I do think that's really interesting with a remake because I feel like that's not often the case. I feel like often with a remake it is a complete remake, so it is very interesting to have the original people kind of behind this film be involved in this remake. It is pretty accurate to the original remake. They don't go too extremely far. I mean, the same story really applies. It is following the small group of people that don't know each other, that are complete strangers, and they get trapped in this farmhouse together and just have to try and survive it and make it through the night. And they also keep the characters' names pretty much exactly the same as the original, including our character of Ben being played by the late great Tony Todd. May he rest in peace. I forgot that he was in this. This was like a fact that I knew, but totally forgot that he was in this. So when his name popped up in the beginning credit portion, I was so excited. And yeah, it follows along pretty directly to the original for the most part, but like I did say, there are some changes made in this that are pretty significant and definitely change the feel of the film. Our starting point being the fact that this one is done in color, whereas the original is obviously a black and white film. I do think that does significantly change the tone and overall feel of this film. It's obviously a more modern version for the 90s when it came out, but I like, and I do think that changes a bit of the way I felt about this film. I do you know, understand keeping with that upgrade, but I do think that part of the appeal with the original, especially watching it now, is the fact that it's in black and white. I think that adds an additional layer of fear to the film. I'm not really sure why. I remember watching it for the first time. Just remember how kind of dark and creepy it felt watching the zombie film in black and white, and this one being in color, for me at least personally, kind of took away from that. I mean, you do see more kind of graphic FX in this film, obviously, because you're able to see the blood and just the decay of the bodies, but that is kind of another aspect in this film. Again, it's 90s, so I do try to give it a little bit of leeway that some of the special effects in this film aren't super great. The fight scenes aren't done super well. They're definitely very fake, and you can see that in the scene in the beginning of the film where Johnny, Barbara's brother, is killed. He falls and hits his head on a tombstone, and you can just very much tell that it's a mannequin. But again, like I said, it's the 90s, trying to give it a little bit of leeway and not judge too horribly on that, because generally the FX makeup is done really well. It's just those additional things that didn't, you know, pan out too well. I'm sure at the time they were probably great, but obviously today's standards, not as great. Some of the things that they do change in this film is our characters. I mean, you have Ben being very forefront of this film, which I feel like him and his back and forth with the character of Mr. Cooper was a big part of the original. They did keep that in, but they do take the character of Barbara, and I feel like they were trying to do a much more like feminist move with this film. She goes from being this kind of timid victim character like she is in the original to being this like badass strong character who we see make it through to the end. She is able to fight off the zombies, fight off on her own. She's able to find a sanctuary of people, and she's able to do that kind of on her own. She makes the executive decision to take off from this townhouse and go fight, which it's really like if they had just listened to the woman from the beginning, because throughout the entire thing she's telling them like, these zombies are slow, we can make it, like if we just run past them, we can get through this, like we don't need to stay here. And that's how she ends up surviving in the end. But I will say, because of that change, they do change what happens to Ben's character in this. He is shot while fighting with Mr. Cooper. He ends up locking himself in the basement, and it's almost kind of led to believe that he is going to be devoured by the zombies, which we do see what inevitably happens to him. We see Barbara at the sanctuary. She brings a group of people back to the house to try to find out what happened to the other people. More specifically, I feel like to try and find out what happens to Ben, and he is turned into a zombie, and she is forced to shoot him. We also see Mr. Cooper, who is not a zombie, and he's like, oh, you returned, but she shoots him anyway, which I kind of understand. He's kind of a shit. He causes his wife to get killed. He's just kind of horrible to the people around him. And so I feel like his choices inevitably led to what happened to Ben. So I kind of understand why she shot him in the head. I am quite disappointed with that change in Ben's character. I understand upgrading this. Again, they're trying to upgrade it for the 90s. I understand taking that more feminist lead, and obviously I have no problem with that. No problem with them turning Barbara into this badass character, and I can understand where they felt like it fit more for the time than what happens with Ben's character in the original, which of course, spoilers obviously, in the original, which came out in the 60s, Ben's character is the one that survives. he makes it through the night in this townhouse, only to be greeted by this group of military and cops who are out searching for survivors. They find the house. He steps out only to be shot and killed by them. And that ending, so impactful. I remember just being in complete and utter shock the first time that I watched this film. And obviously, this is a film that came out in the 60s. He is a black character. That was the intent, and the impact in this was having this black character be shot by the police. Obviously something that still could have passed in the 90s, and hell, even still today, would have had, you know, an impact. But I understand making that change to upgrade it to the 90s with Barbara's character and her being the main sole survivor. It is a little bit disappointing. I think that they still could have maybe gone in the route of showing up at the house, you know, and she's prepared to greet him and he gets shot, and, you know, Barbara could be sad and devastated about that. But I still understand why they made those changes in this film. Do I think that this one is as good or as enjoyable as the original? No, I thought it was a good film. Like the fact that for the most part, aside from those changes, the storyline's pretty accurate. I like that in a remake. I know a lot of people have kind of different opinions. Some people feel like if you're gonna remake a film, remake the whole entire film. I, depending on the film, like when it's kind of like a copy paste of an original. I mean, Cabin Fever, not a super big fan of the remake, but I like the fact that it's pretty much a copy paste to the original. I think that that's always a fun way to do it and to pay homage to a film. But with this one, it was a combination of those things. They changed a lot, but they also kept a lot the same. And I don't know as though it had as much of an impact on me as the original did. I do have to say, I think I just like the original more, but this one's definitely worth checking out if you haven't seen it and you've only seen the original. I do think checking out the original is more important, but all in all, it is still a fun zombie film. And for anybody who has been here a long time, y'all know that zombie films are not my absolute favorite. So the fact that I still found some joy in this one, and of course, just a lot of credit of that to Tony Todd, who, of course, rest in peace. But let me know what your thoughts are on this film if you have seen this remake. I hope that you did enjoy this video. If you did, please give it a big old thumbs up. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for more spooky and horror related content, and I'll see you all again later.